Hi, my name is Barry Sterling Mitchell. Today is June 21st, 2023, and this is Ben and Barry on football.
Hey, what's up out there, y'all? This is your co-host, Ben Dickerson. This, Barry, probably is the slowest time in sports of the year. There is basically, if not for the USFL, and of course there is Canadian football, but for people who really only care about the four major American sports, this is the slowest time there is. I'm looking for good boxing matches and stuff to come on. Usually we get a good boxing match in this time, but it's tough. But we got plenty of stuff to talk about if you really love football.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The USFL is the saving grace for some football. I'm even watching a little WNBA now.
Really? Good for
Involved.
you.
And
I'm proud of you. That's good.
Las Vegas is called the Aces, and that's my grandson's name. So
And
I'll follow the Aces a little bit.
and they're a hell of a team.
There you go. That don't hurt at all. Um, but like you said, it's very slow, and it's slow when all of the sports channels have reruns on. I mean, the
Yeah.
NFL channel is playing historic football games. The
Old Super Bowls, historic
NBA doesn't
games.
even have anything. They're playing get to know your draft picks over and over and over and over. And then the one thing I thought I could depend on, which was the Carton show early in the morning. He's like all the way back at 11 or something like that. He's moving around and all of that kind of. He's still one of the funniest people, though.
Yeah, one morning I cut it on when it was normally on and it wasn't on. I got a little confused. I didn't know what happened.
Exactly. I mean, it's stuff like that happening all the time, and then this becomes completely conjecture season.
Oh, absolutely.
That's what this is all about. But we don't do a lot of conjecture. We don't do a lot of opinion. That's your area. But what we do is we do research. And I was talking to someone today, and I mentioned some of the stuff that we were going over. He said, "Wow, you really do your homework." I was like, that's all we want to hear. That's really what we want to hear. So we're going to kick off today with I believe, this is the third or fourth iteration of our brain trust of the
I
NFL.
believe so.
I think it's the fourth. And this week we're going to do.
One, two, three. Yes, it is the fourth.
Great. We're going to do the NFC
NFC
North.
North.
And as you know, the NFC North contains Vikings, Lions, Bears, and Packers. So that's your grouping for the NFC North. We're going to start off with the Minnesota Vikings. They actually had the best record out of the division last year. So they get to go first. Now, Benny, interesting group right here in this brain trust. We have a GM, Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah. We have the head coach, Kevin O'Connell. Offensive coordinator, Wes Phillips. Does that name ring a bell to you, Benny? DC, Brian Flores.
That one rings a bell.
You know that rings a bell. Special teams coordinator, Matt Daniels. And quarterback, none other than one Kirk Cousins. One of my favorites. You know it's one of my favorites. So let's kick this off talking about the GM. This is actually his first year, but let's talk a little. I love to talk about GMs, especially in the beginning, how they started out, because this has turned into a lesson on how to build a career in the NFL. Even if you're not a football player, like Mr. Mensah here, Mr. Adolfo Mensah. He is a Cherry Hill, New Jersey native. Okay. He received his bachelor's degree in economics from Princeton, where he also played basketball. After Princeton, he went on to receive his master's in economics from Stanford. I mean, brains on top of brains with this guy, right?
Princeton and Stanford, that's big time.
You know what I'm saying? Now, Ben, before he joined the NFL, he started his professional career as an associate portfolio manager at Taylor Woods Capital. Okay. He then became a president and executive director at Credit Suisse as a commodities trader.
Okay. I know you got more to say, but at this point right now, I'm thinking to myself, why is this guy an NFL GM?
Okay. Well, he entered the NFL with none other than my beloved 49ers.
As
where he was in charge of football research and he was a development analyst.
Okay, I don't get it.
And then he was promoted to manager of football research. Okay.
I still don't get it.
Still don't get it, eh? Well,
that seems like a very sharp change in career path.
Yes,
to
it
me.
does, doesn't it? And he became the director of football research and development in 2018. He helped the front office select 3 All-Pros, Fred Warner, Deebo Samuel, and George Kittle. And in 2019, the Associate Press Defensive Rookie of the Year, Mr. Nick Bosa. So he might not have had a lot behind him, but that research he was doing was helping. He was the lead in football research and development, ran the team's efforts to develop and implement advanced quantitative methods for game strategy and personnel evaluation. In other words, they brought him in for, quote, analytics. That's where you take all of that Princeton training and apply it in football, and it's all about the numbers. Now, in 2020, he joined the Browns front office, working closely with Browns executive VP and general manager Andrew Berry. He provided input for all roster and strategy decisions and assisted Berry on football staffing with overseeing and managing day-to-day operations. In June of 2021, he actually led a session at the NFL and Black College Football Hall of Fame's 4th annual quarterback and coaching summit, an inaugural Ozzie Newsome General Manager Forum, where he shared his personal story of how his rise from a trader and portfolio manager of Wall Street to working in NFL front offices with a data-driven approach to finding talent, while providing a quantitative view of grading a quarterback's short, medium, and deep ball accuracy that can be used across the league.
So that's what I need to see. I need to see that speech he gave or whatever at that seminar, whatever it was, to find out the secret behind his thought process of leaving one career, probably making a crap ton of money, to switching over to a career in the NFL and probably taking a severe cut in pay. There had to be some love of the game here or something to draw him over.
Well, crap ton of money versus crap ton of money as a GM. I'm not sure what GMs make.
GMs don't make a crap ton of money. And even if they do, even the best ones, he didn't change from what he was doing, from being a trader to a GM. He changed from being a trader to basically a low-level personnel guy.
Well, he was in the analytics department, and he wasn't exactly low-level. He was working with the top people.
Those guys don't make a lot of money, bro.
Okay, if you say so.
He had to work his way up to GM.
Okay. Well, there you go.
That's my point.
So, in other words, when he came into the NFL with the Niners, he must have really liked what he was doing. He must have really saw a future in it.
That's what I need to know. That's what I want to know. Why did he do that?
Why did you do that? Well,
I'm sure he had a reason. He obviously had a reason.
Yeah, I'm sure he had a great reason, but that's his background, bottom line. Now we move on to head coach Kevin O'Connell, okay? O'Connell was the 10th head coach in the Vikings franchise history after serving as an offensive coordinator for the LA Rams. Now, going back to college, Benny, he finished a career at San Diego State. He appeared in 40 games while ranking third in completions, fourth in passing yards with 7,689 yards, fifth in passing touchdowns in school history. It's amazing. And again, this is one of those things where some of these guys, and you see them now as leaders in the NFL, but at some point they excelled. They really did. Now, he was drafted in the third round of the 2008 NFL draft by the Patriots, okay? He played one season for the Patriots behind Matt Castle following a season-ending injury to Tom Brady. In 2009 preseason, he was claimed by the Detroit Lions and later traded to the New York Jets for a 7th-round pick before his career ended in 2012. He spent time with the Dolphins and then with the Jets and with the Chargers. So he moved around a lot, but he really didn't catch on anywhere. He became a quarterback coach in Cleveland during the 2015 season working with Josh McCown. 2016, he also joined my beloved 49ers, where he overlapped with one Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah. I actually heard a conversation with Quincy, and he was saying how him and Kevin O'Connell were like a pair. You know, he was doing all this analytics work, and Kevin O'Connell was on, quote, special projects. So he had no idea what Kevin O'Connell was actually doing. But they kind of connected. In 2017 to 18, he worked in Washington, serving as a quarterback coach and offensive coordinator, and he coached one Kirk Cousins back then in Washington. In 2022, he became the Rams offensive coordinator, working with one Matthew Stafford. So that's all before becoming the head coach for the Vikings, their 10th head coach. Okay, so he had a pretty interesting career, moved around a lot, played a lot of football. And next up, we have Wes Phillips. Well, Benny, this is his 17th season coaching in the NFL and second with the Vikings as an offensive coordinator. He was a pass game coordinator, tight ends coach for the Los Angeles Rams when they won Super Bowl 56 over the Bengals. He spent some time coaching at West Texas A&M. He also coached the quarterbacks at Baylor. He worked with the tight ends and then became the tight ends coach in 2013 with the Dallas Cowboys. He spent 5 seasons in Washington coaching the tight ends and also with the Rams in 2019 and 2020 coaching, again, tight ends. He played quarterback, was a 3-year letter winner at UTEP, and was part of the 2000 team that claimed the WAC title. The reason I asked you about his name is because he's a 3rd-generation NFL coach. His grandfather, Bum
Phillips. Bum Phillips, Wade Phillips, Wes Phillips. Okay.
His father's Wade Phillips.
Okay.
So, yeah, Mr. Phillips has roots and all types of stuff as far as the NFL is concerned. Well, Benny, the next guy up, I know you know, we've talked a lot about Mr. Brian Flores. They brought him in as the defensive coordinator. And yes, they needed defensive help with the Vikings last year. He spent the 2022 season as senior defensive assistant linebackers coach in Pittsburgh, right? He has almost 2 decades of NFL experience. Now, this is some of the stuff I did not know about Mr. Flores, and I'm sure you did, right? He started the NFL with the New England Patriots. He coached in all 3 phases of the game, offensive, defense, and special teams, and helped them win 4 Super Bowls, okay? Yep. He spent 8 seasons coaching defense and 7 as a position coach. He helped New England win Super Bowl 53 in his first season as the defensive play caller. He graduated from Boston College, where he played linebacker for 4 years. He has a bachelor's degree in English and a master's degree in administrative studies. Don't let your kids tell you that education won't get you far in a career. I mean, these guys are all, very educated. And we all like talking about the special teams coordinators because they always seem to have a little something special going on there, The special teams coordinator here, Mr. Matt Daniels, he earned first team All ACC and second team All American honors as a senior at safety, leading Duke in tackles. Coming out of Duke. He played in 7 games over the course of his 4-year NFL career for the Rams and the Chargers. Only 7 games in 4 years. He spent time on the practice squads with Jacksonville and the Chargers. He did a 1-year graduate assistantship at the University of Colorado, and he joined the Rams after his NFL time period. In 2020, he was an assistant special teams coach for the Cowboys. He holds a degree in public policy studies with a minor in marketing and management. And this is his 2nd year with the Vikings as a special teams coordinator. We finish up with the quarterback, one Kirk Cousins, who in 2022 had 29 TDs, 14 interceptions. He threw for 4,547 yards with a quarterback rating of 92.46. Now, because this is a special person to me, I made sure I did a little extra on Kirk Cousins. This came out of an article that I found. It says, I got to make sure that I have myself on the screen when I do this because this is hilarious. Sometimes NFL brains merely glance at the Vikings depth chart, see Kirk Cousins at QB1 and think, oh, there's Kirk. They won't go far. Then they jot down 8, 9, and that's that. Such is life with Cousins at QB1, at least per people's predetermined opinions regarding the man. Kirk is the only quarterback in history who's thrown 4,000 plus passing yards and 30 plus touchdowns per season like clockwork, while educated men and women surmise, is that really any good? The Vikings can do better. Meanwhile, Minnesota has won just one playoff game on Cousins' watch, fueling the divisive vibe. Tell a Cousins naysayer that the Vikings finished 13-4 despite utilizing the NFL's 3rd worst defense in points allowed in 2022. And within minutes, they'll tell you why Cousins was to blame last year and how he didn't do enough to drag his team to the promised land. Those guys and gals simply ignore the defense's efficacy. Are you happy?
I'm very happy. Somebody has some sense. I've been trying to tell people this for years. But you know what? People that play fantasy football understand Kirk Cousins' value. The man puts up numbers. Point blank, period. Because the Vikings don't go far, or they lose in the first round, or they don't make the playoffs, that's a team problem. That's not a Cousins problem. Believe me. As they talked about the defense last year, which was very lacking. Maybe Mr. Flores can help with that. I don't know. But yeah, Kirk Cousins gets a lot of trash thrown at him, and it's really not fair. I'm not saying the guy's a superstar or nothing, but he gets the job done. He puts up numbers. And you see what the guy said, somehow that people were blaming him because he didn't drag them to the playoffs. That's exactly what he would have been doing. 13-4? You got to be kidding me. What's the problem here?
I think they were the only team last year with a winning record who had a negative net points value.
Yeah, because the defense drug them down.
Well, that is true. The defense did not help him at all. But there's no mention of the stat that I go by when it comes to Kirk Cousins. And you know what
What's
that
that?
is? Brain farts. That's the only problem Kirk Cousins has, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, so
Happens
why is this
at
team
very
always in a position?
untimely basis.
Why is this team always in a position to lose a game if one guy makes a mistake?
Well, it's not just one guy. He's the quarterback. So he's not just one guy. He's the most important guy on the field.
Name me a quarterback that doesn't make mistakes.
Well, there's mistakes and then there's brain farts at inopportune times. And that's what I claim
They're always
Kirk Cousins does.
in every time is an inopportune time. Yes, an inopportune time because the other team is always in striking distance because they can't stop anybody.
Well, that's true. That's true. But that's a time when you can't afford to make a brain fart.
Okay. All right. So if you're a quarterback and your defense stinks, you can't make any mistakes.
I didn't say
that. I would tell my quarterback that too. But the
I
chances of that happening are slim to none.
I never said that. Can't make any mistakes. Everybody makes
mistakes.
Football is a game of mistakes. In football, you make mistakes. You know, let me say this.
That's right. So it's always an inopportune time.
Not always. It's not always. There's times when you can
when you have a defense that can't stop anybody.
You can throw a pick six on the first play of the game and recover from that. But there's times when you can't recover. Now, the thing about Kirk Cousins, and you're absolutely right. Generally, the stats are pretty good. Generally, the stats are pretty good, but
they're better than pretty good. 4,000 yards 4 years in a row.
The bottom line is when you get in the top dollar, people want to see playoff wins and they want to see championships.
And they need to root for another team.
Okay, well, if that's your take on that, I can understand it, but that's where it goes. Okay, enough of the Vikings. You ready to move on?
Well, first of all, you neglected to mention that Brian Flores was able to parlay all that work he did for the Patriots into a head coaching job for the Miami Dolphins. Unfortunately, he got fired, and there's a big controversy about that, lawsuits and all kinds of stuff going on. But he was able to parlay all the time that he put in with the Patriots and all the different jobs that Belichick had him doing to get himself in a position for a head coaching job. And I'm sure he hopes that he will be able to be a head coach again, once again, somewhere along the line during his career. If this is his first year as the Vikings DC, and it's Wes Phillips' first year as the OC, is that correct?
As far as Wes Phillips is concerned, I do believe that he has second with the Viking as offensive coordinator.
Second. And it's Kevin O'Connell's second year as the head coach?
I do believe, yeah.
Okay. And what's the strong suit of the Vikings is their offense?
Yep.
Okay, so you got a head coach, you got an OC, and you got a quarterback that obviously believes in the system of his 2-year head coach and 2-year OC, and they brought in Brian Flores to save the day. So if they do well, but they still make the playoffs and get beat in the first round, it won't be because of Brian Flores, it'll be because of Kirk Cousins.
All right, there you go. Sticking with your board. Sticking with your board. There you go.
It's not about stinking. You don't say a person's a bum when he's not a bum. The guy
he was a bum.
People, you know what I mean. I'm exaggerating.
Oh, yes, you
People are always have something bad to say about Kirk Cousins. He doesn't do anything different from any other quarterback in the league. But when the other quarterbacks make mistakes in inopportune times, you just go, oh. But when Kirk Cousins does it, it's Kirk Cousins. It's not fair. It's just not fair. That's all. I don't love him.
I don't know if you say it's not fair.
They're through for 4,000 plus yards 4 years in a row. Find me 5, 6 more guys that did that. Find me 6 more
I'd like to
quarterbacks.
find you 6 guys that did that didn't get to the playoffs. That's what I'd like to find you.
I bet you there's more than 2, more than 1.
Well, you ain't gonna find 6, that's for sure.
No, you're not going to find 6. They're on
My
better
thing
teams.
with Kirk Cousins again.
That's my point exactly. It's not him. It's the team. That's my point exactly.
It's a team sport. Kirk Cousins tends to make brain farts at inopportune times.
All right, I'm done.
Basic thesis. So, anything else on the Vikings?
Nope.
Let's move on to the Lions. Okay, Benny, let's look at the brain trust for the Detroit Lions. We're starting out with GM Brad Holmes, head coach Dan Campbell, offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn, special teams coordinator David Phipp, and one Jared Goff at quarterback. So we're going to start off with Mr. Brad Holmes. Brad Holmes actually graduated. He's a cum laude graduate, Benny, from North Carolina A&T State University as a bachelor's in science and journalism and mass communication. He was a defensive tackle, voted team captain. He helped them win the 1999 Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference and the Black College Football National Championship.
North Carolina A&T?
Yeah.
Cool.
He's the son of Melvin Holmes, who played offensive line for the Steelers, and a nephew of former Lions defensive back Luther Bradley, who was a first-round pick back in '78. He originally joined the Rams in 2003 as a public relations intern. There's that word again, Benny. And until 2020. So that's 18 years he spent with the Rams. So he was a Rams guy. He transitioned into scouting and spent nearly 2 decades in various roles within the organization's player personnel department. He was a scout, an area scout, a combine scout, a scouting assistant. In 2013, he became the director of college scouting and was responsible for overseeing the team's college scouting operations. In 2021, he was named the Lions executive vice president and general manager, where he oversees the operations and reports directly to the owner and chairperson Sheila Ford Hamp and president and CEO Ron Wood. So this is one GM who actually has some football in his background, Benny. And a lot of what he did beside that was scouting. So for a GM, that sounds like a nice setup there. Head coach is Dan Campbell. He has 23 years of NFL experience, including 12 as a coach and 11 as a player. Now, he also went to an A&M, but he went to Texas A&M. He was a 4-year letterman for the Aggies and majored in agricultural development. Ben, you should have a special feeling for Dan Campbell because he was the 3rd-round selection by the Giants in 1999. The former tight end appeared in 114 total career games with 76 starts, caught 91 passes for 934 yards and 11 touchdowns, and was a member of the Giants team that appeared in Super Bowl 35 following the 2001 season. So that's 11 years he played with the Giants. He also played with the Cowboys, the Lions, and the Saints. When he played with the Lions, however, he posted career highs in receiving yards, yards per reception, and touchdowns. He joined the Dolphins in 2010 as a coaching, there's this word again, intern, and was responsible for mentoring Miami's tight ends. In 2016 to 2020, he was the assistant head coach for the Saints. And in 2021, the Detroit Lions named Campbell the franchise's new head coach. So he's a Giant. You remember him playing?
Yeah, he's tight end.
So you do remember him?
Yep.
Fantastic, fantastic. Offensive coordinator Ben Johnson played 4 seasons at quarterback at North Carolina and graduated in 2008 with a BS in math and a BS in computer science. He joined the Dolphins after spending 3 years at Boston College, coaching tight ends, and spending his first 2 seasons as a graduate assistant. He became the offensive assistant coach and helped an offense that finished 4th in the AFC in rushing touchdowns. He served as the team's assistant quarterback coach, and in 2015 was promoted to tight end coach. I thought that was so weird that he was the quarterback coach and they considered a promotion to tight end coach. They considered a promotion. Came to Detroit in 2019 as an offensive quality control coach and was heavily involved in the passing game during Dan Campbell's first season in Detroit. And 2022, he was promoted to offensive coordinator. Defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn is out of Humble, Texas. Earned his bachelor's degree in business management from Texas A&M. He was a 2-time All-American and left the school as the alma mater's all-time leader in pass defense, season punt return average, and punt return yards. He played 15 years in the NFL before joining the personnel and coaching ranks. He was a first-round draft selection by the Jets out of Texas A&M in 1994. In 2012, he worked with the New York Jets front office, served as a college area scout in 2013, and as a pro personnel scout. He served as an assistant secondary coach with the Browns in 2014 and was on staff with the Lions in 2016. On staff with Lions head coach Dan Campbell in New Orleans for 5 seasons, where he took over and took responsibility for their secondary, and he is serving his 2nd season in charge of the Lions defense. So him and Dan Campbell got together down in New Orleans. Special teams coordinator Dave Phipp was a 4-year letterman and walk-on at Arizona with the Wildcats. He was a leading tackler on special teams and started as safety during his final 2 years. He began his coaching career in 1998, Benny, as a special teams coordinator for Holy Cross. He was a graduate assistant at Arizona before going to Cal Poly, Nevada, and San Jose State, where he worked in defensive coordinator roles. His first NFL experience came with my beloved 49ers back in 2008. He worked with the Dolphins coaching special teams back in 2011. And he spent 8 seasons with the Philadelphia Eagles as special teams coordinator. I didn't know that. The quarterback is one Jared Goff. Jared Goff's 2022 season, he finished with 29 TDs and 7 interceptions, 4,438 yards, and a 99.3 quarterback rating. He spent his first 5 seasons with the Rams, who selected him first overall in 2016 out of the University of California, took the Rams to 2 NFC division titles and 3 playoff appearances, and led the team to Super Bowl 53. So that's Mr. Goff. He started all 69 games in which he's appeared, and he also where he completed 1,536 out of 24 and 21 passes for 63%. Completion rate, he had 107 touchdowns and 55 interceptions. He rushed for 10 touchdowns. So, Mr. Goff, we talked about the Lions as being one of those teams with a really, really good offense and a really, really stinky defense, which we were all, at least I was always kind of surprised because Dan Campbell had the bite your kneecap attitude. And to me, that translated more to defense than offense. But hey, you know, Mr. Aaron Glenn has to step up now. And if they can keep up what they're doing, then they can give those pesky Vikings a run for their money. What do you think?
Well, I think Dan Campbell had the bite your kneecap off attitude because he knew that the guys on the defense that they had at the time would in fact have to almost literally bite people's kneecaps off in order to stop them from scoring touchdowns on them. Ben Johnson, as the offensive coordinator, though, I have nothing but good things to say about him. He has obviously been able to tap into Jared Goff and get the best out of him. Here's a guy who some people had a lot of doubts about, who luckily landed on the proper team at the proper time when he got drafted by the Rams and was able to win a couple of divisions and get to a Super Bowl before people started to realize that this guy actually was as mediocre as they thought. But he ends up on the Lions and turns out to be a leader on this team and seems to have resurrected his young career. So he carried them pretty far considering how bad the defense was last season. And they spent a lot of time in free agency and in the draft getting some quality bodies over there on that defense for Aaron Glenn. So we're going to see how well Aaron Glenn does as a defensive coordinator when he's got some real talent over there to work with. This is why a lot of people are predicting that the Detroit Lions could possibly win the NFC North this year. They are definitely contenders for the division, and who knows how far they can go after that if, in fact, this defense does gel.
One of the questions I think maybe may come up, especially relative to the GM Brad Holmes, is why they let DeAndre Swift go. The Eagles did a real good pickup there, and I think he's going to be a big help to that offense. I didn't see him as a liability. I don't know if there was a contract issue or what, but I thought he was a really good running back.
DeAndre Swift from Philadelphia. I loved him. A lot of people in Philly love him, but I don't think he put up the kind of numbers that the money, well, I'm not going to say the money because I think I'm not sure if he got a second contract or not, but his numbers didn't add up to what they expected out of him. He was oft injured and just didn't put up the kind of numbers that they expected him to put up. And I think they got a little tired and realized that they might be in a position where he might be asking for a lot of money, and so they decided to let him go.
All right.
Now he's on a really good team, so we'll see what happens.
Where the running back that preceded him pretty much had the same story, and now he's gone. Miles Sanders didn't put up the numbers they quite expected, and I think what you said.
Well, Miles Sanders early on was doing pretty well. Miles Sanders has been falling off lately.
Mm-hmm.
Last couple of years, he's fallen off. Where Swift never took off.
Okay. All right. There you go. There you go. All right. Next up, the Green Bay Packers Brain Trust, Benny. GM Brian Gutekunst. Head coach Matt LaFleur. Offensive coordinator Adam Stenovich. Defensive coordinator Joe Barry. Special teams coordinator Rich Bisaccia. And quarterback Jordan Love. So here's your NFL Brain Trust. Starting out with the GM, Mr. Gutekunst actually played 2 years of college football at the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse. Became an assistant coach for the team during his final 2 years after a shoulder injury cut short his playing career. Started out in the NFL in '95 when he assisted the coaching staff of the Saints with the offensive line during training camp. He joined the Packers in 1997 as a scouting intern before being hired full-time as the East Coast Scouts. Spent a year as a scouting assistant with the Chiefs in '98, and he returned to the Packers where he was named college scout for the East Coast. He served as the East Coast Regional Scout for 2 years and switched over to the Southeast region. He was the Packers Director of Player Personnel back in 2016 and 17 and worked with Green Bay's Director of College Scouting for 4 seasons. He became the Packers' 10th general manager in 2018. They say in his 23 seasons with the team, he helped lead the Packers to 16 playoff appearances, 12 division titles, 6 appearances in the NFC Championship game, and a Super Bowl title in Super Bowl 45. So he's had some success with the NFL and with the Green Bay Packers. Head coach Mike LaFleur began his college career as a wide receiver at Western Michigan before he transferred to SVSU, Saginaw Valley State University, where he guided the Cardinals to 3 straight NCAA Division II playoff appearances and earned second-team All Great Lakes Intercollegiate Athletic Conference honors. He actually ranks number 3 in school history in passing yards, completions, and TDs. After college, he played with the National Indoor Football League. Check this out, Benny. For the Omaha Beef in 2003 and the Billings Outlaws in 2004. That man wanted to play some football. Play with the Beef. He began his coaching career as an offensive assistant at Saginaw Valley State and became a graduate assistant at Central Michigan. He coached quarterbacks and wide receivers at Northern Michigan in 2006. He was the offensive coordinator at Ashland, Ohio University, where he helped the Eagles score a then school record 440 points and average 528.2 yards of offense per game on the way to an NCAA Division II postseason appearance, the team's first since 1997. He started out in the NFL with Houston as an offensive assistant. In 2008, 2009, now, you know, I kind of forgot that Houston actually was pretty good offensively at one time. We kind of forget that. But he was part of a staff that helped the Texans rank in the top 5 in the league in total offense and passing offense. Check this out. He assisted offensive coordinator, quarterback coach one, Kyle Shanahan, with the QBs. He also assisted wide receivers coach Larry Kirksey. He served as a quarterback coach for Washington, where he tutored one Robert Griffin III, who became the first QB in team history to win AP Offensive Rookie of the Year and the first Washington rookie quarterback to be selected to the Pro Bowl. He also coached Rex Grossman and one Donovan McNabb. In 2014, he went back to college and coached quarterbacks at the University of Notre Dame. He joined the Rams and serves as their quarterback coach, and he also coached for the Falcons. He tutored Matt Ryan when he set single-season franchise marks for passing, completion percentage, and TDs. In 2018, he guided the Titans offense featuring Derrick Henry and running back Deion Lewis. And in 2019, he was named the Packers' 15th head coach. His younger brother, Mike, is currently the offensive coordinator for the Jets. Their father, Dennis, was a starting linebacker of Central Michigan's national championship team back in '74 and went on to be a defensive assistant for the Chippewa. So he's got coaching in his blood. It's in his genes. Now, as far as Adam Stenavich is concerned, well, he played a little high school ball back at Marshfield High School, where he was an all-state player. He was a left tackle at Michigan University, where he earned first-team All-Big Ten honors, and the Hugh R. Rader Jr. Award as Michigan's top offensive lineman. So Mr. Stenavich was a lineman. He became, in 2014, the line coach for Northern Arizona, and he coached the line at San Jose State. In his first season, he was on my beloveds, a lot of 49ers coaching moves here. He coached on the Niners staff, where he coached Joe Staley and Matt Breida. He joined Green Bay in 2019 as the offensive line coach and was promoted to the line run game coordinator in 2021. And this is his first season. as offensive coordinator after being promoted in January of 2022. So that's Mr. Stenovich. Defensive coordinator Joe Barry joined the Packers in 2021. He was a defensive coordinator for Detroit, Washington, and Green Bay, and comes with 20 years of coaching experience. He spent 4 years with the Rams. He was also part of the staff that helped them lead the league in both scoring defense and overall defense. He also was with Washington and helped their team rank number 3 in the NFL in forced fumbles, sacks, and tied for number 11 in takeaways. As a defensive coordinator in Detroit, he helped the Lions rank number 1 in the league over that span. I don't remember that, but that's going back to 2007. He coached the linebackers for 7 seasons with the Bucks, helped them to a top 10 ranking. He tutored Hall of Fame linebacker Derrick Brooks during his time with the Bucks, helping him earn All-Pro honors, as well as NFL Defensive Player of the Year. And they won the Super Bowl. In his first season with the Packers, he helped them rank in the top 10 in the league in total defense. So now the defensive coordinator for the Packers. That's one, Joe Barry. Special teams coordinator, Benny, you talked about him a lot because he was the guy who took on the interim coaching job with the Raiders.
Right.
And we thought he did a pretty good job. We were hoping that he might have had a chance to stick with them. He has 40 years of coaching experience, including 21 in the NFL, as a special teams coordinator. This will be his 12th season that he's held the title of associate head coach or assistant head coach in the NFL. He had some stops at Michigan, Clemson, South Carolina, and Wayne State. He also coached with the Cowboys, the Chargers, and the Buccaneers, as well as the Raiders. And we mentioned that he was the interim coach for the Raiders in 2021 and joined the Packers in 2022 as the special teams coordinator. He is out of Yonkers, New York, and was a 4-year starter as a defensive back. So Mr. Bisaccio had some playing time. The quarterback, one, Jordan Love. All he has in terms of stats is 1 TD, no interceptions, 195 yards for 112.2 quarterback rating. Since we don't have a lot, I looked at some of the information surrounding him. His quarterback coach is Tom Clements. So he's being coached. This is what he's being told. Tom Clements has 3 cardinal rules. 1, never throw late over the middle.
That's my rule. That's every coach's rule.
2, no blind throws. And 3, no premeditated decisions.
Oh, okay. Every coach has those rules. That's nothing special there. That's what his college coach probably told him the same thing. His Pee-wee coach probably told him the same thing.
Quite possibly. Apparently, he has a special rapport on the field with Antonio Dobbs. So we'll keep an eye out on that. He said he's getting open, so it's easy to throw to open guys. But he did acknowledge the challenge he's seeing from Packers defensive. They've thrown different blitzes at him and gave him a lot of different looks. So Matt LaFleur said he's less concerned about the end results, but he does believe the process is correct, talking about his footwork. They want him to be able to throw at any point in time and make sure that he's got his feet in the right positions. So there's your Green Bay Packers: Brian Gutekunst, Matt LaFleur, Adam Stenovich, Joe Barry, Rich Bisaccia, and one Jordan Love. So Jordan's got a great support system there, I would say. What do you think?
He's got a pretty good support system. Matt LaFleur calls the plays. So Adam Stenovich is one of those OCs that we talked about, that uh, his main job is helping to put the game plan together, watching film, making sure that whatever game plan they come into, whatever schemes they decide to run and all is tight and works well for the opponent that week. But when it comes to game day, Matt LaFleur calls the plays. Joe Barry, I think, is a very good DC. He's been around. He's got a lot of time and experience under his belt. And the Packers have pretty much had a really good, if not middle of the road to good defense. And if they were middle of the road, it's probably because I remember over the last few years, them always having a major guy or two being injured. But they've been keeping a pretty good defense over the last few seasons. So I got to give them that. Now, I need you to look at something real quick while I talk about Jordan Love. You mentioned Matt LaFleur being on the Houston Texans staff. Give me that year again, would you please? I think you said 2008. But while you do that, I have called Jordan Love a bust. I remember using that word when talking about Jordan Love. I may have been premature in doing that, but I don't have a whole lot of faith in him because being the heir apparent and the known heir apparent to Aaron Rodgers, I just have not heard enough about his progress over the last few seasons to really have a whole heck of a lot of faith in this guy. He's had plenty of time to sit back and learn from one of the best. I'm not sure exactly how helpful or how much of a mentor Aaron Rodgers was to him. But every year, you know, his name comes up because he's getting into preseason games. He's doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but he hasn't shown any huge flashes. He hasn't been bad either. He just hasn't shown me enough to let me know that he's ready to take over when Aaron Rodgers leaves. And maybe Rodgers stuck around a little bit longer than we thought maybe he would. Once they picked this guy and Rodgers went into a tizzy about how dare you, you know what I mean? But now is his chance. This is his big opportunity. And from the way that they've been running this team, it looks like he's their guy. So they have enough confidence in him that they're going to go with him. I don't even know who the backup is. And they're going to live and die with this guy. So I'm going to give him a chance to prove me wrong. And I'm kind of hoping for the best for the guy, to tell you the truth.
What team was it you wanted me to check out?
Matt LaFleur, when he was with the Houston Texans.
Houston, eh? All right. Well, let's see here.
He's from the Shanahan tree also. So anybody from the Shanahan tree is going to be a pretty good offensive brain.
That was back in 2008 and 2009 with Houston as an offense.
2008, 2009, and he was the quarterback coach?
Offensive assistant.
Offensive assistant. Okay. That was when they had one quarterback, Matt Schaub, who I won fantasy championships with at quarterback. Andre Johnson, one of the biggest, baddest wide receivers in NFL history. And the starting middle linebacker was now and is now the head coach, D'Amico Ryans. That's their 2018.
Wow. Wow, that's great. That's great. And I'm glad you mentioned it because I was going to say, if he's part of the Kyle Shanahan tree,
yep,
you're never going to know exactly.
Well, it's actually the Mike Shanahan tree.
Okay.
Kyle's dad.
Kyle's dad. You're never going to know what's going on with their team because they're like spies, you know.
Yeah, they're tight-lipped.
They're tight-lipped big time, man. They might tell you anything, you know. You ask them a question, and all of a sudden you hear the music go dun 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 dun.
Yeah, and regardless of how great or not great people think Aaron Rodgers was and is, Matt LaFleur knows what the heck he's doing. He knows how to call a game. So, him, McVay, all those dudes, man, they're pretty. I hate to throw the word genius around, but these guys know their way around an offense, no doubt about it.
Well, he put in a lot of time, LaFleur did, and he looks relatively young considering how long he's been coaching.
Yeah, he moved up the ladder pretty quick.
So,
That just means he's a smart guy, man.
he's a smart guy, but he put in his time. All right. You finished with the Packers?
Yes, sir.
Last but and least, because they had the worst record, is the Chicago Bears Brain Trust. General Manager Ryan Poles, head coach Matt Eberflus, offensive coordinator Luke Getsy, defensive coordinator Alan Williams, special teams coordinator Richard Hightower, and quarterback Justin Fields. Let's start out with GM Ryan Poles. He's out of Canandaigua, New York, where he was an offensive tackle. He played offensive tackle for Boston College back in 2003. I guess at the time the quarterback was Matt Ryan. He was protecting Matt. He was honored with the Paul Kavanaugh Award as a student athlete with total commitment to football, both on and off the field, and for his dedication to volunteerism, ethics, and community. He graduated from Boston College in 2007 with a degree in communication and became a recruiting assistant for them. In 2008, he signed with the Bears as an undrafted free agent. In 2009, I guess that didn't go well because he joined the Chiefs as the team's player personnel assistant. So that didn't work out real well. He served 3 seasons for the Chiefs as the assistant director of player personnel. And he did 1 season as the director of college scouting, 4 seasons as the college scouting coordinator, and 3 seasons as the college scouting administrator. So he spent some time with those guys. He had 13 years with the Kansas City Chiefs. And at one time was the executive director of player personnel. He oversaw all aspects of college scouting across the country while assisting with pro personnel process and preparing for free agency. Assistant manager Brett Veach with his coordination with the NFL draft, overseeing the team's out-of-town area scouts. During that time, they captured 1 Super Bowl, 2 AFC championships, and 7 AFC West Division championships. He was instrumental in helping the Chiefs land All-Pro Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. He was named to 2 40 under 40 lists over the past 3 years and Ingram magazine in 2019 by The Athletics. He was named the 7th general manager for the Bears in 2022. Matt Eberflus, as the head coach, was a 4-year letterman and 3-year starting linebacker in Toledo. He earned first-team All-MAC honors, leading his team in tackles as a junior and senior, and voted team captain, awarded the Nicholson Award as the MVP. He earned a degree in education in '93 and was inducted into Toledo's Athletic Hall of Fame in 2004. He was a college coach for 17 years, Benny, starting at Toledo, and he spent 8 seasons at defensive coach for Missouri. He began his NFL career with the Browns as a linebacker coach and then spent 7 seasons with the Cowboys as a linebacker coach, eventually becoming a passing game coordinator. And he was also, in 2018, a defensive coordinator for the Indianapolis Colts. He became the 17th head coach for the Bears in 2022, Mr. Matt Eberflus. Offensive coordinator Lou Getsy. 16 years of coaching experience, 8 in the NFL, all with the Packers and the Bears. He was a player in Akron. He set 24 individual school records before transferring to Pittsburgh. He led the MAC in 2005 in passing yards and had the second best single season mark in school history behind Charlie Fry. He led the Zips to the conference title and was named MVP of the MAC championship. He threw for 413 yards in a 31-30 victory over Northern Illinois. Went on to throw for 455 yards in the Motor City Bowl, which was a record with 4 touchdowns. Graduated degree in marketing management and sales management, and earned MAC all-academic honors. He was signed by the Niners as an undrafted free agent in 2007. He was with the club through the preseason. Again, all of that, and he barely lasted any time with the Niners in 2007. Like I said, he was an undrafted free agent, but then by 2007, 2008, he started his coaching career back at Akron. So he got the message, went back, started coaching. He was an offensive graduate assistant at the University of Pennsylvania and an offensive coordinator and quarterback coach at Indiana University of Pennsylvania. Started out with the Packers in 2014 and helped lead them. Their offensive staff led the Packers to a #1 rating in scoring at 30.4 points a game and tied the NFL for #1 in fewest giveaways. He worked with one Devontae Adams. 2018, he became an offensive coordinator back at Mississippi State. And again, I've seen this too, where these guys will be in the NFL, they'll go back to college, do a little offensive coordinating, and then they come back again. His first season leading Green Bay's quarterback room in 2019 with Aaron Rodgers. He took over the passing game as the coordinator and quarterback coach in 2020. And this is his second season with the Bears. Alan Williams, defensive coordinator, 31 years of coaching experience and 22 in the NFL. With Tampa Bay Bucks, the Vikings, and the Lions. He was a running back at William and Mary way back in 1988. And that's where he got his coaching start. He began with the Buccaneers in 2001 as a defensive assistant under Tony Dungy and coached alongside one Mike Tomlin. 2012, the Vikings brought him in his first tenure as a defensive coordinator. And his first season as a defensive coach with Detroit was back in 2014. He joined the Bears in 2022, spent 4 seasons. He had spent 4 seasons with the Colts as a safeties coach. And he came back to the Bears in 2023 as a defensive coordinator. So he moved around a little bit. Richard Hightower has 16 years of NFL coaching experience. He is the special teams coordinator. He had stops also with the Houston Texans, the Commanders, the Browns, the Niners, and the Bears. This is his second season as the special teams coordinator for the Bears. He's out of Houston. He has a bachelor's degree in marketing from the University of Texas, where he was a 3-year letterman and special teams standout. So that's one Richard Hightower. Don't have a lot on Justin Fields. Benny as the quarterback. We've seen what he can do. He had 17 touchdowns and 11 interceptions last year. He had 2,242 yards passing with a quarterback rating of 85. But I believe he led all quarterbacks in rushing yards last year. So
He had more rushing yards than Jalen Hurts?
I do believe. I'll
Okay.
double check that. But yeah, Jalen Hurts, I mean, Jalen Hurts was passing the ball too. I think he passed the ball a little bit more
A little bit.
than
He passed it
Mr.
way more than
Fields.
just, he passed it 3 times more than just Justin Fields.
Well, the Bears brought in one Michael Vick to work with Fields. And they say the former Pro Bowl quarterback has stressed the importance of Fields becoming a more effective passer, which is just ironic in and of itself. You gotta love it. I mean, you gotta love it, man. I mean, what can I tell you?
I would venture to guess that Justin Fields' running attempts and his passing attempts numbers are extremely close, far closer than they should be.
That might be. That might be. I'd have to look that up.
That's just off the top of my head. He only threw for 2,000 something yards. That's a mere pittance for an NFL quarterback.
Yeah, we saw guys in college throwing for 4,000, right?
Right. When I watch Bears games, he was running the ball like 70% of the time. So I say that to say, first of all, GM Ryan Poles has a lot of experience. He's had a lot of success, especially when he was with the Kansas City Chiefs. So you got a good GM there. This guy's tasked with rebuilding this team. Matt Eberflus and Luke Getsy have got to figure out what their offensive identity is going to be, because Justin Fields is a guy that's loaded with talent, but you don't want to get him hurt. This guy, him, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, these guys are the future of the NFL. And Justin Fields has the physical attributes just like these dudes, man. But they have to have some kind of offensive identity. You just can't run him into the ground. So obviously they've got to pick their passing game up. But it's not just make him a more effective passer. They got to get him some weapons too. They need people to throw the ball to. It's no good if your wide receivers can't get open. You got to have a running back that you can dump to too. You know, he had basically nothing. Poor guy. But I think they'll be better than they were last year. So they got a tough job. Chances are, and I kind of have been, as we've been doing this brain trust thing, I've kind of been saying who I think is the best and who I believe is tops in each division. I believe the Bears probably will be the bottom feeders of this division at least one more time. I believe that the Detroit Lions will take the big step and take over this division and be the division winner. Not to say that the Packers aren't going to be good, because again, jury's still out on Jordan Love. If he makes the big step as a starting quarterback, I think the Packers have enough talent to still win games. And the Vikings offense obviously is going to be a challenge for everybody. Even though Dalvin Cook is now gone, they still got everybody else, and they had a pretty good draft. The question with them is going to be their defense. So I believe the Lions' improvement on defense will be a little bit better than the Vikings' improvement on defense. Therefore, I believe the Detroit Lions are the class of this division, and the Chicago Bears will probably finish last. But I'm looking for them to establish something on offense so Justin Fields knows what it is that he's working with.
Okay, I can see that. I can see that. And I read an article again. One of the I think there was a guy who came from the Eagles and went to the Bears, and he said the same thing that we both said. And I know I said last year. Justin Fields reminds me of Jalen Hurts.
Yep.
Wise, skill wise, and I really think that he has a lot more to give. And like you said, if they can put more people around him, and really, if Mr. Getsy can really mind melt with him and get him going. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. All right, Ben. Well, that's our NFC North that we just did. What does that mean? It means that next week We're going to do the AFC South. So be ready, and we will knock that thing out the park. Looking forward to the the AFC South. Okay, Benny, before we wrap up, let's go to our Facebook page where we have a few topics that we want to take a quick look at and share with everyone. First off,
Speaking of which, did you remind everybody to hit the subscribe button?
no, I didn't. You want to remind them?
No, you do it so well.
This is the chance to remind everybody to hit the subscribe. See, I don't do it that well. The subscribe button.
Can't take a compliment, can you?
I know. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so when we put out a new video, you will be notified right away. Awful news, Hall of Famer, Colorado coach Deion Sandwich. I'm really struggling here. Deion Sandwich.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, let's finish this up right away. I need a drink.
It's time to get...
Telling you.
And I'm the one that's drinking.
Best wishes to Deion Sanders. They're saying he could lose his entire foot due to medical complications. We know he already lost a couple toes. And for whatever reason, he's having circulatory issues, and he's dealing with a vascular surgeon when it comes to his foot. It just amazes me for a guy who was in such great shape, such a great athlete, that he would be having these types of problems. But hey, man, sometimes these things come along for reasons that aren't directly related to all of that working out and stuff.
Right.
I'll mention just real quick, our former head coach, John Payne, just retired as the pastor of his church. And John has a very rare disease, which is really causing him a lot of problems. And if you remember correctly, he was always the guy that walked through the room and you could see he had been lifted.
Right.
I mean,
yeah.
So it happens. It happens. And so best of luck. Get well soon to Deion Sanders. I have here that Ben's going to love this title. But all I did, Ben, was just do some research to see if the AI, artificial intelligence revolution, has hit the NFL yet. And apparently, football is a little too complicated for artificial intelligence. They're not quite.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it.
They're not quite ready for football.
That I love.
I don't know how long you're going to love it, but it's coming. We have an article here, Ben, where they rank the GMs. And Howie Roseman came in at number 1. So he reigned supreme in the ranking of GMs. Check Ben and Barry on football's Facebook page for the complete listing of all 32 GMs and the rankings. There's some GMs they didn't rank, like Kwesi, because they're brand new. So They didn't really rank those guys. I mentioned that there was someone who compared Justin Fields, as I had, to Jalen Hurts, and that would be TJ Edwards, who came over from the Eagles. Let's take a look, Benny, at what's getting ready to happen in the USFL as they approach their division championships. They will be played, the North Division will be played Saturday, June 24th at 8, and the Southern Division will be played Sunday, June 25th at 7. The championship itself is scheduled for July 1st at 8 p.m. So
I'm upset. I was channel hopping and I saw the commercial for the Michigan Panthers Philadelphia Stars game. And they were hyping it as this is a game that's going to decide who plays in the division championship. And I was like, well, All right. Philadelphia Stars. I haven't been watching, but they were in the league championship last year. And I'm thinking to myself, they're on their way. So I didn't watch the game, but a replay of the game came on. I said, no, let me watch this. But I had something to do. So I watched like the first half, and I'm like, they're on their way. Doggone if they didn't cough that thing up. They coughed it up, man, and put the Michigan Panthers in. But then when I was watching, guess what I found out? There's a wide receiver playing for the Michigan Panthers that played in the PTTFL.
Really?
Yes, Joe Walker, number 8. Next time the Panthers are on, which will be this weekend, right?
Yeah.
Take a look at my man. Watch the Panthers. Number 8 is wide receiver, Joe Walker. He played for the UT Cobras.
Wow. All right. You love
Yes.
to hear that.
Yep.
I love to hear that. Well, the Maulers are going to be playing the Michigan Panthers, Benny. I took a quick look to see what it looked like relative to scoring and net points. Your Maulers are -1 net points. They're going to be playing the Panthers, who are -44 net points. The Maulers put up 177 points, but they gave up 178. The Panthers scored 171, but they gave up 215.
Okay, so I got to pick the Maulers on that.
The Maulers are the obvious point leader in that situation. Now, on the other end, you've got your Breakers and your Stallions. And Ben, I have to admit, I kind of like the Breakers. Just watching the Breakers.
Really?
Yeah, I kind of like the way they played. Their quarterback, McLeod Bethel Thompson.
Oh, I know that name.
Yeah, because he got cut from a lot of NFL teams.
Yeah, but he was a good college quarterback. I can't remember where he played, but he was a heck of a college quarterback.
Heck of a college quarterback. Yeah. Well, the Stallions are +91 in net points.
Mm.
The Breakers are +53.
Mm.
So obviously the Stallions are net point favorites. They put up 287 total points while giving up only 196. The Breakers put up 237 while giving up 184.
Not to mention that
probably rooting for the Breakers for whatever reason.
You'll be rooting for the Breakers, but I'm sorry, I'm going to have to root for the Stallions. They are the defending champions.
And one Mr. Alex Magoo is like the top guy. He is
Mr. Magoo.
Mr. Magoo is potentially the league MVP. So he'll be coming up against that rock-solid Breakers defense, which hasn't conceded a passing touchdown in the last 9 quarters. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Could we possibly be looking at an upset like we saw in the XFL?
Wouldn't that be something?
Because how many games did the Breakers win? Like 4?
Well, I think what happened with the Breakers is they kind of did the same thing. They won 3, lost 3.
Yeah.
But overall, they had a winning record. But
they did have a winning record.
Yeah, I do believe.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. The Breakers were like 7-3.
Right. They were second place.
Right. And the Stallions won 8 games.
Yeah.
Okay. The Stallions are the defending champs from last year. I expected the Stallions to be up there. I also expected Philadelphia to be up there because they actually played the Stallions in the championship game last year, but they faltered. So okay, I'm ready for this. I'm gonna have to watch this
weekend. So yeah, I'm going with the Breakers. You're going with the Stallions. Best of luck to all of the participants in the USFL Divisional Championships, and maybe we'll see a surprise out of that group.
Quite possibly.
But I'm definitely going to be looking for our PTTFL brethren as he plays. And you say he's with what team?
He's with the Michigan Panthers.
With the Panthers.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wide receiver. He wears number 8.
I expect the Michigan Panthers to get ousted quickly, so we better make sure we see
Do you?
the game. Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, the Maulers' defense is rough.
I know. That's what I'm saying to you.
I'll give you that. We'll see.
You'll see. It's going to be rough. All right, Benny, that's all I got.
That's all I got.
That's it for you?
I'm good. Yep.